Hello, my name is Dakota Loop. I am a level designer, and today I'm going to be talking about my Unreal Tournament map called the Cathedral. It was designed in Unreal Tournament Editor, so for those who might not know, Unreal Tournament Editor is basically Unreal with a little extra steps. It is basically base Unreal, but it also has basically pre-designated blueprints and prefabs for like ammo, jump pads, and a lot of the scripting basically already done. So you can just basically use the BSP or however you want to design your map, and then just simply drag and drop the different things and make sure that it's the different settings that you want overall. So my map is Capture the Flag, so it's relatively symmetrical, but I wanted to highlight some of the different design choices that I made, and one of the biggest things that I was doing when designing this map was making sure that there was a plethora of options for different play styles, but also just different options and routes and different flanking options. And then another big one is making sure that there were subtle and a little bit more distinct landmarks for players to help orient themselves based off of where they are. Having played a couple games that are competitive, I know how important it is to have these distinct landmarks to help guide the player onto where they are and help orient everyone else when they're talking about play or to their teammates where they are and have that open line of communication. So as you can start, obviously you have these big banners to help guide or orient the player, but you'll see there's other options or other different things that are used in the side compartments overall. So going into it, you can go up and kind of see the flag, and as you can see, there's these stairs that guide the player up. When you get to the top, I wanted this open feeling where anyone can see from a lot of different points that the flag has been taken. So I didn't want it to be a hidden thing in which not everyone knew that the flag was taken, it wasn't easily seeable or things of that nature. I also wanted to create, as you can see, there's not a lot of cover, an option in which the players can't just sit here and hide the whole time and have an easy way to block everything. Basically for their players can go up this way, which has two different options, and go up from the sides. You can take these beams that go in, or these jump pads that go in here, as well as there's just a lot of lines of sight. So if I were to just hide in here, someone could easily grab the sniper from one of these holes and then just basically snipe the player, and there wouldn't be anything to do, and it kind of prevents people from unfairly camping, but it still kind of creates an option in which the player can overall to some degree, but making it just somewhat balanced. From here, you have a lot of different options in which you can go to the side and go on top of the cathedral, or of course you can jump down and go through one of the main routes. So going through basically the front door of the cathedral, this is the main funnel and pinch point in which most players will be fighting, as there's the most weapons as well as the prize rocket launcher. But it creates a lot of different options for the player overall. So they can, if I come in, I can go immediately to my right where I have to run across, but I can get a little bit more advantageous position and then get a nice weapon where there's some cover, but obviously it's a little thin. I can get shot from either side. It's a little bit difficult to crouch completely behind not complete cover overall. And so it kind of gets this advantageous position, but of course you have to run all the way across. The player can also be sniped from up here, so if they wanted to go up from one of the side rooms, go up there, you can be shot from that side. But there's also a lot of this looping cover in which the player can kind of run around and not necessarily have to stop moving. They can keep moving at all times, which is kind of nice and more conducive, especially for the Unreal Tournament playstyle, which isn't really necessarily about I'm going to hide, crouch, and shoot. it's a lot of keep moving. So this kind of creates these options in which the player can still fight, feel like they're not completely exposed, but give enough cover to where they can loop around overall. And then of course they can just jump over it entirely. Then going into the other stuff, there's also some flanking routes. So this is the bedroom. The bedroom is the main entrance. It's located by the red side flag. So this is a distinct thing that's different than how it is on the other side. And then there's this staircase that leads to the top, which there's a nice little sniper, which I'll go to in a little bit. But yeah, so this is one of my landmarks in which if the player comes into this room, they know that the exit on the other side is going to lead to the red side flag, while here is going to lead out towards closer to the blue side flag, but lead into the main cathedral room. If the player were to, jump down, come through here, a minute left, come through here, then they'll see the storage side, which creates another landmark that's completely different than on the other side, so the player has a good idea of where they are and can help orient themselves. I'm going to go grab the flag real quick because I think it will end if I don't have the flag. So definitely about to crush this team. I'm not even trying. So this is another route which the player can see. So this goes on top of the cathedral, and if they were to go here, they'll be able to get this sniper. And so in a lot of different places, I wanted to create options where the gun that the player is obtaining is basically instantly usable. I didn't want a lot of situations where the player gets a gun, but they have to run for long periods of time before they're even able to really use the effectiveness. But of course, being careful and cautious to not make it too overpowered, like with a sniper, in which the player can just basically grab the sniper, sit in a corner, and then never have to leave. This creates a lot of different options in which, if I'm going to be watching the blue side flag, I can get sniped from someone way over there, someone from over there. There's long lines of sight where I can't just go and necessarily hide out in the open. So creating these different options where players are very exposed, but still giving the option if the player wanted to grab the sniper, and then start sniping down, they have that option, and the sniper is instantly usable for players who like that play style of using the sniper overall. And then the last main route, which I will show, is the catacombs, which is on this side. And this is actually the longest route for players to get from one side to the other. So it basically goes from corner to corner. But it's also, because it is the longest, it's also the safest as well. So because you're dropping down, there's fewer spots for players to come from. So they can come from the corners and they can come from here. So you have a good idea of where enemies are going to be coming from. So if you're trying to grab the flag and run back to base, this might be a viable option. However, you have to factor in and realize how much longer it's going to take the player to get through compared to if they were just to go over top or in the middle overall. And just kind of highlighting that the fastest route for a player to grab a flag and go to the other side is going to be basically straight ahead. You don't have to dodge through cover. You don't have to worry about dropping all the way down and then going all the way back up. It's pretty straightforward, but there's the least amount of cover, and there's a lot of different options for the players to be attacked. If I see someone running across that, I can just easily go up one of these and shoot them, and then I can go up another jump pad, which will take me up here. So there's a lot of different options for the player to get this person if they're going up here, and of course there's the least amount of cover. And then the other main one obviously is the one that's the middle one, which is the second fastest route, but of course also very exposed. There's more cover than it is up here. However, there's a lot more options for players to flank, for players to shoot above, and so it kind of creates a lot of different dynamic options overall. And then of course you have, just to help funnel the players into the middle, is the prized rocket launcher that's dead center of the map. So very, very powerful, and definitely behooves the one team or the other to try to hurry up and get one flag, or to get to the middle so they can get this rocket launcher and kind of gain control of it overall. So as you can see, kind of just jumping up overall. I think this might have been mentioned, but if not, all of this was actually made with BSP, so everything was created in Unreal in the editor. So, obviously these are just kind of blocks turned on the side for things a little bit more complex, like these pillar or these arches that I wanted to help kind of have this very pointy, long style. You can see with a lot of things just kind of pointing up to this central landmark. This was just a simple rectangle with a cylinder and then another box that's just kind of turned on its side. So trying to be creative with the shape. So if I were to pass this off to an artist, they would have a pretty clear idea of the type of architecture as well as the style that I'm just trying to convey with the level overall. And then the last thing, just to kind of touch, was it was an interesting design consideration. So there's this weapon, I guess you can call it, called the translocator, and you actually teleport to it. So you have to be careful. I had to be very, very careful when designing I didn't want specific areas that were only available by here, because, I didn't want to stop the flow of combat where you're like, oh, I want to get up here. Let me switch my weapon to the translocator and go up here. So I wanted a lot of different options where, okay, cool, I can just run up here. If you're skilled, you jump on top of it. Oh, looks like no team won. You could jump on top of it, or you can use the translocator if that's your specific playstyle. So I wanted different options for the player to be able to do that if they want to. As you can kind of see, also just highlighting really quickly the top-down map. It's extremely, extremely symmetrical, and I wanted to do this to make sure that one side didn't have necessarily an advantage over the other, but again, creating these distinct landmarks on either side to help orient the player based off of where they are, especially with the side rooms overall. So hopefully this was somewhat informative, and you're able to see a lot of the design consideration and choices that I made when designing this level. This level spent a lot of time in the pre-production when I was drawing out maps and trying to design sketches to figure out how many options and routes was applicable and made sense for the player. And then there was a lot of design and iteration that went in after I actually got the rough block out to make sure that there wasn't too many unfair line of sights, cover felt right, and then it was just a lot of playtesting with friends and family to make sure that the level felt overall complete and balanced, depending on which side you did, and that just took a lot of time in its own regard to kind of get right, to make sure it was a fun, doable map. So again, my name is Dakota Loop. Hopefully this was helpful and informative, and you were able to see the design choices and considerations I made while designing this map.